Well, folks, you join me in the Audi e-tron GT. I've never been so nervous in introducing a car to the channel as this one. The whole EV sector is divided, it's polarized, it's Marmite, it's love it or hate it. No, this particular car just happens to be a great car. It just happens to be powered by electric, unlike a lot of other EVs, which people buy them because they're EVs. This thing is absolutely stunning to look at. Now, I'm going to head off a few comments. I feel I've got to do that up front, otherwise we'll have all sorts of things in the comment section. Firstly, I don't care that this car will depreciate like hell. I don't care that it's not the longest range EV in the world. I don't care that it's really quite expensive as a car, and I'll get to all those reasons later. It doesn't really bother me that it's an EV, it just suits our purposes perfectly. I'm on the motorway, I'm on the way to work going to Denver today, and you know what, I'll be there for dinner. So why do I not care about depreciation? Well, if you've watched a previous video of mine, why you shouldn't buy a new EV at this time, all because of depreciation and increases in technology. This is a 2024 model. I know there's a new one coming out towards the end of 2025. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. As far as the e-tron GT is concerned, I believe it's a little bit of a facelift. The RS might get some more power, but primarily this is a car that I share with Mrs. Ed to go backwards and forwards to work. We both work out of London Heathrow. It's 120 miles round trip. So range to me doesn't really impact that too much. I need to be able to operate between the 80 and 10%, which is where the battery's in its happy place. And in fact, we don't even use that. We use somewhere in the region of 45 to 50% of capacity to actually do a round trip to work, which is great because we plug into 80% at home, and at the end of the day, we get back with 30 something. Now, I've managed to wrestle the keys away from Mrs. Ed. She reckons this is her car. My pay packet says differently. The reason we've gone for this is because there are quite huge tax incentives depending on where you are on the income level in here in the UK. Yeah, we got this car because it's good looking, it's refined, it's civilized, it's smooth, it's fast. It's a really nice place to be. As you'd expect, the Audi interior is fantastic, and it's got buttons. It's got buttons on the steering wheel. It's got all the necessary stuff for heated seats, etc., etc. And HVAC. It's got wireless Apple CarPlay. Hey, you know what my thoughts are on Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. It's an absolute must in a car these days. Inexcusable if it doesn't integrate with that. So, all in all, this car cost me £565 a month after tax. That includes insurance, and insurance for EVs, I got a quote, £950 for this year, and I'm sure it would go up, and I'm sure the way things are going, it's going to rise continually. I just got my renewal for the Alfa Giulia and the Range Rover, and it's gone up from just under £1,000 to £1,500. That's a 50% increase in insurance costs, so I'm kind of glad insurance is included in this one, as is servicing and tyres. So it's not just that, it's the saving and the cost to run this thing. £3.45 it costs us on a round trip to work, as opposed to between £20 and £30 depending on what else we drive. We got this over a 4-year deal of 15,000 miles, and you know what, that's where we got to do. We've got 3,500 miles on it already, which is kind of a little bit shy on where we'd like to be, but yeah, we're still beating around. So when you include the cost savings and actually running the thing, it's costing about £350 a month out of my pocket for a brand new 2024 model Audi e-tron GT. So now you know where I'm coming from on this one. It's because of the incentives that I can pay through a company car scheme before tax and save all of that. So there's cost for you. This is just the first in a series. I'm going to do a review on this car a bit more in detail. This is just purely an intro. Introduce the car to the channel. Gonna kind of walk you through do's and don'ts with chargers and electrical supply, certainly in the UK. This is a kind of, I'm a noob, this is my first EV, although I have been kind of interested in the sector for some considerable time. I do have an EV channel, EVPZ, which I've all but abandoned now these days, simply because of the hatred towards EVs. Social media and comments and YouTube can be really, really nasty. And I filmed the intro 3 or 4 times now. I've no idea whether I'll use this one or not, but anyhow. So back to me yesterday. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the charger, the home charger that we've got, and the electrical supplier. So, preparations for your new electric vehicle. First of all, you've got to make sure that it's right for you. Remember the WLTP figures, the range figures published by all the manufacturers in the magazines online. They're all done to a set of government standards, the WLTP standards, and it's a range of roads not very far, which is why hybrids are kind of skewed to the 300 miles per gallon. If you are kind of using 99% of your traveling within a 20-mile radius of where you can plug in, that's why they're called plug-in hybrids. There are self-charging hybrids, but that's just using the motor effectively to charge the battery. It doesn't really make sense either. It really, really works. So this is a Zappi charger. I've had to have installed a smart meter. So I signed up to Octopus, of all things. They seem to be taking over the world as far as UK EV tariffs are concerned. And I was able to get this installed. This is called a tethered charger. You can get untethered, so tethered means effectively the cable stays here all the time. It's much, much more convenient than having to reach into the to the trunk or the frunk in this case and get your charging cables out. So we just pull up, plug it in, and basically the whole Octopus intelligent Go tariff kicks in. You set how much charge you want for the car overnight, and it comes up with its own idea. You get a guaranteed kind of 11:30 at night to 5:30 in the morning. You get those 6 hours at the ultra low tariff. It's currently 7.5 pence a kilowatt hour, and then it goes up to the kind of the high 20s. Now we've set our heating system. We've got an air source heat pump here. We've got a full tank of water. We've warmed the house up before 5:30 a.m. in the morning, and that really, really does make a difference to the overall heating bill. However, it's not just the 6 hours you get under this intelligent. This is connected to the internet. It basically talks to Octopus, and it sets up a charging schedule for your car. Now, as consumer demand it dips and dives throughout the day, Octopus have devised a system where they can help the network out by taking that surplus electricity and charge you at the 7.5 pence, the super low rate, and that's throughout the day. We've even found that with Mrs. Ed coming back from work at 2 or even later a.m., we can plug it in and we can have the car charged up again by 11 a.m. The next day. So it really, really does work. It's plug and play. Nobody needs to worry about it. We know that we use about 50% capacity on the battery in general in order to do a return trip to work, and that's at motorway speeds. So that is the tariff. The Zappi really works well because it's an intelligent system. It is connected to the internet, and there are other chargers out there. I won't pretend. I'll just talk about how it works for us, why I've selected this, and really the Zappi one, because we were thinking of adding a solar array. Got a big flat roof here. Perhaps we can add some solar panels. We've got a bit of a garden. I was thinking of a tracking array, and that can all go into kind of using that surplus throughout the day. It's very intelligent, this. So as you're generating electricity, whether it be wind, whether it be solar, it can add that capacity into the battery. The kind of My Energy setup can also heat your water with a surplus electricity as well. And it's all about being greener. But it's not just that. It's about running your home and your car as cheaply as possible. So the three things: a smart meter, a smart charger, and a sensible battery size for the amount of travelling that you're going to do. So choosing the right car, we've went a bit of overkill on this. But the more expensive the car, the more the tax savings, as far as I'm concerned, as far as income tax is concerned. So we pushed the boat out a little bit. As I say, initially it was the Ioniq 6, a lovely thing. We might consider that for the next car, but right now, for the next 4 years, 60,000 miles or thereabouts, it is the Audi e-tron GT. It's not the RS. We didn't feel the need to add that extra expense. And it won over the Porsche Taycan because it actually has physical buttons in there. It's like an Audi inside. The intelligent cockpit is a thing to behold. It's got wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and it works an absolute treat. But 303 miles, you may find that in the winter time, that WLTP range is more like 150 miles. Now that would be worst case scenario motorways, using all your heating and your air conditioning, but gives you some sort of idea of what sort of capacity you've got to think about. Now we traditionally kind of on 120 miles of a round trip, we're using about 45, 46 percent capacity for this battery, and that's perfectly good because we leave it 80% charge. It's really healthy for the battery to do that instead of going to 100% all the time. And then we arrive back with the 30-something, depending what the traffic is like and what diversions we've had along the way. That is perfect. The happy spot, as I said, for your battery is around about 50% state of charge. You don't want to have to rapid charge your car all the time. So what you really need is a car with a sensible capacity for your needs, and factor it up in somewhere in the region of 50% compared to the WLTP. Thirdly, you need a smart meter. Fourthly, you need a charger at home. And finally, you need an open heart and an open mind to give an electric vehicle a chance. There are a lot of people that have done it, however, they don't have home charging, rapid charging, and trying to find a charger along the way all adds time to your day, to your commute, and you really don't need that hassle. Now, Mrs. Ed said she doesn't mind a battery vehicle, but under no circumstances is she ever going to rapid charge at any time and any use. Now, this is I suppose, a fourth car for us that is capable of commuting. If we want to go a distance, I'll load up the Range Rover, I'll fill it with fuel, and if you've seen my 1,000-mile challenge, you'll know it'll do nearly 1,000 miles on a tank. That's the sort of thing you want. 4 dogs, all the luggage, and all the comfort along the way. If I want to go back roads at the weekends or just go and enjoy myself, I'll take the Alpha. So this car has got a very, very specific use. It's not a one car does all that many people have to kind of get around and have a bit of a compromise along the day, which is probably why SUVs have become so popular. So what did you think of that then? The only reason an EV actually works is if you can home charge it. It's the only use case I can find. A lot of the negative reviews that you see on YouTube are traditional ICE YouTubers getting an electric car and having to use the rapid charging stations. Now, I charged once for 10 minutes at McDonald's whilst I was coming back from somewhere. I didn't actually need to charge. It was more just to verify that the card was working. However, in about 10 minutes, I put £12 worth of electric into the car. And if you're into those sort of numbers, then it doesn't really make sense. People talk about the equivalent cost of running it like an RS6 or something like that, and that's probably true. If you don't have a home charger, then forget it. If you don't have that ability to cheap charge 7.5 pence a kilowatt hour in the evening. So with the Alpha reduced to kind of secondary commuting duties, I'm probably filling up, I don't know, once a month now at this stage. And I enjoy it when I get a chance to drive it to work, or as I did last night to Caffeine and Machine. So that's the intro. Do you think I've made the right choice? This was made simply because the car was in stock. I got it in 3 weeks. They were doing some good deals on it, being a pre-registered model. You see a 73 plate on it. It was registered at the end of December last year. We got it in March, so it had been sat around for 3 months with a registration plate on it. We got it with 51 miles, which was the delivery miles. The driver dropped it off. I'm going to do a more in-depth review, as I said. Now that we've got 3,500 miles under our belt, I really feel as if I've got to know the car in that time, although the vast majority of those miles have been put on by Mrs. Ed. So the reasons why I went for an e-tron GT: A, it was in stock. It was black on black, and it had the color-coded front bumper on it. Normally they come in a kind of a light silver, which just looks a bit stupid. It's the Batmobile, as Mrs. Ed would call it. It's her Batmobile, more importantly. And if I get to drive it occasionally, albeit. It won over kind of Tesla's. It won over the Ioniq 6. Is this a step up? I'm not sure. I like the Ioniq 6. I like all the Ioniq Hyundai, what they're doing. The 5N is a stunning machine, loved by all, it appears. But it wasn't on offer when I got this. And I would have had to wait for it quite some considerable time. The more we use this, the more I save in tax, and the more we save in fuel. It's as simple as that. It's a cost-saving exercise in a beautiful wrapper. It won over the Porsche Taycan, of course. They're very, very closely related. This car is buttons, simple as that. The Taycan might have sharper steering, but we're sitting on the motorway mostly. This is not a backroad blaster. It's not a backroadhero as such. This is a car for doing the miles, and it is a GT. It does exactly what it says on the tin. The Taycan, arguably less better looking, perhaps. I love the wide arches on this. Certainly the look out the rear view mirrors is absolutely stunning, and it has a presence on the road because it's so damned wide. Too much of a presence maybe on back roads. That's probably a good enough place to end this one. Let me know in the comments whether it's the right thing, whether you think I've sold out, as it were. But it's not replacing anything in the fleet. I've still got the Range Rover, and I've still got the Alfa Giulia, albeit in slightly different roles these days. For now, this is the e-tron GT. Hope you've enjoyed this short video. Until the next time, all the best now. Bye-bye.